Welcome back to the deep dive, everybody. We've got some really old stuff to unpack today.
Really old.
Yeah, excerpts from the book of Exodus, chapter 8, specifically.
Yeah, Exodus chapter 8. We're going deep on this one.
Yeah, and our mission is to really try to understand what's happening here. You know, the sequence of events, what's motivating the characters.
Yeah.
And we've got a lot of those, right? We've got Pharaoh, we've got Moses, we've got Aaron.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And the Lord, of course.
Yeah.
And to see if, maybe some stuff pops out at us that we hadn't thought about before.
Yeah, it's a familiar story to a lot of folks, but we're going to try to uncover some interesting things here, dive deep into it.
Yeah, deep dive. And we're going to be focusing on the first 3 plagues that we find here in chapter 8, which is frogs, gnats, and flies.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things that we really want to pay attention to is how Pharaoh reacts to these, because each one is ratcheting up the pressure, so to speak.
The intensity. Yeah. Yeah. These are, they're not just random afflictions, right? There's a clear progression here.
Okay, so let's jump right in. The plague of frogs. This is the first one. And the initial demand from the Lord to Pharaoh through Moses is very direct, right? Let my people go so that they may worship me.
Straightforward.
Yeah, doesn't seem like it should be too hard to comply with, but the consequence of not complying is it gets pretty amphibious.
It does. It gets very amphibious, and I think when we read this passage, sometimes we kind of picture a few frogs hopping around, but no. This is a full-on infestation from the Nile River. The text says the Nile will teem with frogs. And they will come into your houses, into your bedrooms, your beds, your ovens, your kneading troughs. Like, this is meant to disrupt every aspect of their lives.
And it's Aaron who, acting on the Lord's command, stretches out his hand with his staff over the waters of the Nile, and bam, frogs everywhere.
Frogs everywhere. I mean, you can just imagine the scene. It would have been utter chaos.
Yeah, and it's interesting. Right away, Pharaoh's magicians, the Egyptian magicians, they're not just going to sit by and watch this happen.
No, they're not.
They it says they use their secret arts to bring frogs up on the land.
Right. So they're able to replicate this, and I think that's an important detail for us to consider, because it kind of indicates that Pharaoh might have initially seen this as a contest of power, right? Not necessarily the singular power of Yahweh, but rather, okay, you've got your magic, we've got ours.
Right.
Let's see what happens.
Yeah. It's like he's thinking, oh, you can do frogs. I got guys who can do frogs too.
Exactly.
But, even though his own magicians are seemingly able to do the same thing, Pharaoh still summons Moses and Aaron. And he says, okay, I'll let your people go and make sacrifices if you get rid of the frogs.
Yeah, he's feeling the pressure.
Yeah.
He's not fully convinced yet, but he's definitely willing to negotiate.
Right. And Moses' response here is really telling. He basically says, you tell me when you want the frogs gone, and I'll ask the Lord to remove them. And the reason he does that is to demonstrate the power of God.
It's a test, right? He's giving Pharaoh the opportunity to set the terms in a way, to really see that this is not just some random occurrence.
Yeah.
This is something that is under the control of God.
Right. And so Pharaoh says, tomorrow, I'm gonna give one more night.
Right. One more night with the frogs.
Yeah. And so the next day comes. And as Moses had said, the frogs die.
Yeah, they die in heaps. They're gathered up. It must have been quite a stench.
Yeah.
And the text specifically notes that they all disappear except for those in the Nile.
Right.
So there's still a significant number of frogs in this vital waterway.
Yeah. You'd think after all that, Pharaoh would be like, okay, I get it. You're the real deal.
Right.
But no.
He hardens his heart.
Yeah. The text says, when Pharaoh saw that there was relief, he hardened his heart and would not listen to them, just as the Lord had said.
So right from the start, we see this pattern emerging where there's pressure, there's a temporary concession, there's relief, and then hardening of the heart, refusal.
Yeah. All right. So we move on from the frogs to the second plague.
Yeah.
And this time, the Lord gives a different instruction.
Yeah.
This time, Aaron's supposed to strike the dust with his staff. And it turns into gnats all over Egypt.
And not just affecting people, but the animals as well.
Yeah. Oh, can you imagine?
Oh.
Just covered in gnats.
I mean, it's a different kind of torment than the frogs, right?
Yeah, yeah.
It's this constant, pervasive irritation.
Yeah, and the Egyptian magicians, they try their their secret arts again, but they can't replicate this one.
No, they can't.
They can't make gnats.
They can't make gnats. And this is, I think, a real blow to their credibility.
Yeah.
And certainly to Pharaoh's perception of their abilities.
You know, like, it's one thing to match frog magic.
Right.
But if you can't even conjure up gnats...
That says something.
Yeah. And their interpretation of this is really, really telling. They say, this is the finger of God.
Yeah. It's an admission from Pharaoh's own advisors, people who presumably hold similar beliefs, that there's something more powerful going on here.
Yeah. So you would think that would be enough to convince Pharaoh.
Right.
But it's not.
It's not. The text says his heart was hardened and he refused to let the people go.
Yeah. It's hard to understand, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It really makes you question what is motivating him here.
Right.
Is it pride? Is it fear? Is it just this deep-seated belief in his own power?
Yeah.
It's hard to say.
Okay, so on to plague number 3.
Yeah.
Flies. And this one comes with a warning.
Yeah, a warning.
There's going to be dense swarms of flies on Pharaoh, his officials, the people, their houses, and it's going to ruin the land.
It's going to be bad.
But there's a key difference here.
There is. And that is that the land of Goshen, where the Israelites are living, will be spared.
Yeah.
So this is introducing the idea of divine protection, right? It's not just about inflicting suffering anymore.
Yeah.
It's about showing that God can differentiate between the Egyptians and his chosen people.
Right. So it's a very clear visual distinction, right?
Absolutely. One part of the country overrun with flies, the other untouched.
Yeah. And so the flies come.
They do.
As promised. And so how does Pharaoh react this time? Third time's the charm, right? Maybe he's finally going to see the light.
Well, he offers another compromise. He says, go, sacrifice to your God here in the land.
So he's willing to let them worship, but
on his terms.
Yeah.
Right. They can't leave Egypt.
Right. But Moses, Moses has a good point. He says, our sacrifices are detestable to the Egyptians. If we do that here, they're going to stone us.
Right. So he's highlighting the cultural and religious tensions here.
Yeah. And he reiterates the original demand.
Yeah. 3 days journey into the wilderness to offer sacrifices.
Yep. So Pharaoh compromises again. He says, okay, you can go into the wilderness, but don't go very far.
Classic Pharaoh, right?
Yeah. And he asks Moses to pray for him again. Get rid of these flies.
And I promise this time I'll let you go. Maybe, it's this pattern of half measures, just enough to alleviate the immediate pressure, but not fully submitting to God's will.
Yeah. So Moses agrees to pray, but not without a warning to Pharaoh, don't act deceitfully again.
Right. Don't play games with me.
Yeah. And so the flies are gone.
Vanished. Not a single one remains.
Yeah, you'd think that would be it, right? Like, surely now Pharaoh's gonna let the people go.
Yeah, you'd think so.
But no, he hardens his heart again. So we've seen these 3 plagues, each one getting more intense, more targeted. The magicians can't even compete anymore.
Right. And we see this consistent pattern of Pharaoh making promises under pressure and then breaking them as soon as the pressure's off.
Yeah, and that hardening of his heart. That's the real obstacle here, isn't it?
It is. It's the central conflict in this part of the Exodus narrative.
Yeah. And it really makes you wonder why, right? Why is he so resistant? What's going on in his head?
Right. What internal conflicts might he be facing?
Yeah.
What external pressures might be influencing him?
Yeah. What do you think the advisors are telling him? Are they saying, you're the God King here. Don't give in to these demands.
Or are they, maybe concerned about the economic impact?
Oh, yeah.
Of letting all the Israelite slaves go?
Yeah. That's a huge question.
It is a huge question, and it's one that we can't fully answer from the text alone.
Right.
But it makes us think about, the nature of power, the nature of belief, the human capacity to rationalize, even in the face of the extraordinary.
Yeah. That's really fascinating stuff. Thanks for taking this deep dive into Exodus chapter 8 with us.
My pleasure.
I hope you guys, got something out of it. And until next time, keep thinking about those questions.
Yeah, keep digging.